hello everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whenever you are watching this. We are back. The SPFL is back, and it's back in full flow this weekend. And that can only mean one thing, that it's time for us to sit down, dissect it all, analyse everything. Who's took the lead in the title race, who's took the lead in the sack race, all of it. We will go through it all. And with me to do that on this very sunny afternoon, I have got Iain. Iain, how are we doing?
I'm doing all right. Partially excited because I've had an eye screening today, so eye drops have gone in, so I can kind of make you all out. Hence why the glasses are on to help me not strain my eyes. You lucky people have got the sun. We've swapped because last time we were on with each other, it was really hot down here. It's now raining, so we've swapped the weather. So yeah, but other than that, all good.
Listen, you really don't want to see us in much clearer vision anyway, and it's probably for the best. Robert, how are we?
Aye, good. Listen, I've had a really uneventful day if the backstage was to go in and buy. So, no, looking forward to the next hour or so. As you said, title's over. Paddy Power have paid out, so we can sweep that aside. But it's some great goals, some new names in the league as well. So, yeah, plenty to talk about. Cheers.
And we have the gaffer, Martin. How's it going?
Oh, me? Right, aye. I'm very good, Connor, actually. Very, very good. Had a very good day. Like Robert says, the league's done, it's over, so we don't need to be worried anymore. That's it. And we can just sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 37 games.
Yes. Needless to say, if he was in a coffin, you couldn't get the lid done. Okay, then. We will get ourselves kicked off.
Sad thing is you could.
Oh, dear. Well, right. So we'll open up. We'll get kicked off with what I think. Sometimes when you're sitting, just a bit of insider knowledge for the viewers. Sometimes when you're sitting writing this up as the host, sometimes you're trying to juggle and go, what's best to place as the first game to speak about. Sometimes it causes you a headache. This weekend, none of that. Absolutely easy as you like. The Dundee derby at Tannadice, for me, by far the best game of the weekend. 2 years, Iain, since these two last met, and it was well worth the wait.
It was well worth the wait. And wasn't it nice to see another SPFL derby on the telly for a change? We can get on, the Old Firm can get on, the Dundee derby can get on, but apparently the Edinburgh derby is not good enough for Sky TV. So, but it was fantastic to see it back. The place was a sellout. I've seen fan perspective videos from YouTube as well. The whole day. It's probably one of the weirdest derbies in the sense of that the two sets of fans walking up and down the same street, because what else are you going to do? You couldn't do that with the other two. But I mean, the atmosphere it created, it was actually a really, really good game. And watching it on Sky, I got caught up in it as well. And it's unusual for me because I don't normally. But yeah, it was a cracking game to watch. And it was good to see the Dundee derby back again.
Can I just add to that, Connor, actually, really quickly, that see if you look at the league now, you've got the Old Firm, you've got the Dundee derby, you've got the Edinburgh derby, you've got some actual real high quality, maybe not go so far as to say high quality, but you've got high drama, really, really good, intense derbies now in the top league. We're constantly putting our own league down, constantly talking about the quality of our own league, but it's got some real passionate derbies in it this season, and surely that can only be a positive.
Yeah, 100%. Aye, you've got, for the old school viewers, the New Firm derby, of course, Dundee United and Aberdeen. Most people don't call it that anymore, but that's what it used to be called. Of course, Dundee United and St Johnstone, that's the proper Tayside derby, although Dundee and St Johnstone are also a derby, but it's more United. So, yeah, it's all exciting times, Robert, for it to come back. I do have a quick question, though, because before the game kicked off, Dundee gave Dundee United a guard of honour for the flag raising of the championship flag last year. What's your thoughts on that? Because for me, that's a strange one. Dundee were in the league above. Why do they care that United won the championship?
Well, I think it's not for me, basically. Had it been St Johnstone or St Mirren, then fair enough, but it's your nearest and dearest, and it's Derby Day. I think that just needs to be parked. And there was some sort of wry smiles for the Dundee United players that was all walking past, seeing them all, giving them a wee clap. But I think, you were quite vocal last season about, selling a product and selling the derbies and And I think that was, evident on Sunday. That's, we've got some good games, as Martin says, to be showcasing, and it lived up to the bill, and it was a great match right for the off.
Would there have been any financial implications, Connor, had they not done it? I don't know if it's like a rule from the SPFL that you have to do it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know it's slightly different because it wasn't the opening game, but I'm pretty sure, I can't remember if it was last year or the season before, Rangers had played Celtic after they won the league and didn't give them a Guardiola for obvious reasons, because that would have caused major problems. And I don't think there was any financial penalty for that, but it might be different on the opening day because it is the flag raising ceremony and all that sort of stuff. I just think they won the championship, that's fine, but surely if you're Dundee, finishing top 6 in the Premier League, I'm afraid to say, without meaning to downplay it, for me is a better achievement than winning the championship, as difficult as that is. Okay. Iain, we didn't have to wait very long for this one to spark into life and to get our first goal of the afternoon after a poor Saturday where there was no goals in 2 games. Dundee United shot into life. Couple of early chances for them, and then the new captain, Trapanovsky, he puts them in front after a bit of good play, you've got to say, in the midfield into Van der Sande. I think I said that properly. There will be a few names in here, by the way, that I will mispronounce because they're not easy.
Is the captain not Babinski?
Babinski, sorry, you are quite correct. See, I'm getting my unskis and skis mixed up. It's tragic. But anyway, yes, Van der Sande squares it across and it's sorted in lovely by Trapanovsky. I thought it was a brilliant finish, and I thought the link-up play was excellent.
First things first, thank God you're hosting, because that would have been a travesty if it were me. I wouldn't have got a single one of them right, so well done.
No, it was like Trapanovsky.
Yeah, it would have been Krapanovsky if it were me. I saw that eye roll, Robert. You loved it, really. No, it was a great goal, that one. Good movement, good link up, good play. Just the quick moving it about. Dundee didn't really know what hit them at this point. They were just flying all over the place. Dundee were like pretty much a non-event for most of that first half, even though they did get back into it. But yeah, it was a good finish, good spot. No chance for the keeper. It quite surprised me how well Dundee were middle to front. How good they were. It did surprise me. I wasn't expecting them to be quite as fluid. Consider there's a lot of new names in there. So yeah, that was a great way to start it off, and it literally lit the touch paper and away they went from there on.
I do know that Jim Goodwin has completely changed his formation for this season. I think it might be, like Iain says, because of the new arrivals that he's brought into the club. He's trying to play a different style of football. And I think it did really show in that first half. I was surprised, actually, at how well Dundee United played in that first half. Because, like you have said, look, Dundee finished 6th last season. They actually played really well and in quite a lot of games. They've settled into the top league really well. Tony Docherty's a decent manager, good manager, got them playing well. And United in that first half destroyed them.
Yeah, they did, which I know will have brought a smile to your face, your beloved tangerines and all that. But I mean, Robert, proof, if it was needed, that you can never ever lie down on Derby Day, because despite how well Dundee United had started and fired themselves in front, it took Dundee just 5 minutes to get level again. But a good play to get themselves into position, and then a little bit of luck as well. McCowan slid in down the side. He sort of cuts it back, but it's kind of blocked into the path of Murray, who has a shot saved, and then Palmer Holden, another new lad. There's a theme to this match. Another new lad. He is there just to tap it home. And fair play to him, because you think it's an easy goal and he should score it, but it would have been easy to hoof that over the bar and let it get to you. So a quick fire equaliser for Dundee.
Listen, you say Simon Murray has a shot saved. I think he was trying to put it into an area, to be honest. Maybe looking for the back stick, someone coming in there, but keeper gets a touch on it, and as you say, the boy sort of tucks it away. I think he gets a bit of lift on it as well to try and stop it. The keeper sort of getting along the ground to it. So I think he just maybe scored a couple in the League Cup group stage as well. I think he'd maybe got 3 or 4 goals from already, so he's got a bit of a name for himself. But I see, to be honest, it was one of them where you just think, how's that happened? Because it was all Dundee United up to that point in terms of, you know, they were great in the forward areas, the wing backs especially. Is it Sverulj? I don't know if it's Sverulj.
Yes, yeah, that
I thought he was
unfortunately
really good. And he comes out in the game obviously later on as well. But I thought he was really good. And obviously the 2 new guys, the skis as you've called them there, Tabanovsky and Babunski. I heard someone that Babunski did some sort of schooling at Barcelona. I know he blazes one over.
It was only mentioned about 600 times, Robert, during the commentary.
Listen, it's the Scottish top flight. If you've got it, flaunt it. That's what they say. So, you know, as I say, I'd gone on record in the prediction show saying I think that, you know, Jim Goodwin would get the sack, but look, on that show and I could be eating the humble pie because they were very, very good, very, very fluid. But as you say, Dundee get back into the game, and I think, you know, Tony Docherty had said in his post-match that it was about getting them in at half-time and giving them, you know, a bit of a shake-up because they weren't showing their true selves in the first 45.
Absolutely. And just quickly, Robert, just sticking with you just very, very quickly, a quick question about Simon Murray, of course, signed by Dundee. Obviously, he's a boyhood Dundee fan, so he'll be loving that. But of course, he had a not so successful spell at Dundee on loan. Was it 2018? I think it might have been. Do you think this is a much better Simon Murray than the one they had before?
It all come down to the service that he gets. You know, you've seen this week, last couple of days, Luke McCowan, bids from Hibs and Bolton not back. I'm sure some will come back in for him before the end of the window. It's about keeping the best players. He's the captain, and he's the sort of the engine room, as it were, all the creativity. You see him take all the free kicks and corners and stuff. So it's about the service, really, Connor. I think if he can get the service, you'll get goals out of him. We saw that Ross County last year, and I think it's a good addition. It's somebody that can come in and obviously take over the mantle for Bakayoko for last year. But it's just about, you know, if they can maintain and keep that key man in McCowan.
I think it also depends on how Tony Docherty wants to approach games with Simon Murray as well, because he's a cracking footballer, and he's definitely at the level of a Dundee and mid-table Premiership. I just think he's a real cracking player, and he can change games, as we've seen later on.
Yes, yep, and we'll come to that just shortly. Well, Ian, you know, Dundee obviously got himself level, but then they didn't stay level for very long because this opening quarter of an hour was just breathless stuff. Again, about another 5 minutes later, Dundee United get themselves, you know, back up the park. It's Svelja, I think is how you pronounce it, who I must say, what a ball this is. He absolutely, first time, smashes it across the face, and there's Thompson, you know, in there to bundle it home with a tap in. I mean, it was just superb play.
2 decent goals from Dundee United, and you can't. I mean, the way they play the ball about, like you said, that pass was just brilliant. There's no more you can do. It laid it on the plate for him. Really, it would have been harder to miss, but depending on who you are, and you think of another game that happened this weekend, it is possible to miss when it's a gilt-edged chance. But I'm sure we'll come to that later on. But the young lad, I mean, to be fair, Thompson, the young lad, he seemed to really enjoy his day. He was at the heart of pretty much everything they were doing for most of that first half, especially. It's just further proof that if you're good, old enough, you're good and good enough, get him in the team. Because they played without fear. He went at him. He wasn't afraid. He didn't retire into himself, and he was on point when it mattered the most to put that ball in and get him that 2-1 lead. And my God, he enjoyed his celebration anyway. I'm not entirely sure what it was all about. Like, it looked to me like some sort of fishing, like trying to read. I don't know, but I can't even explain it. But he really, it was something behind it, and I'd like to know what it was. But obviously, we don't get to know that. Yeah, but all round, another cracking go by Dundee United.
I can give you some background on Miller Thompson if you want.
Fire away. Yep.
Obviously, as most people watching this probably know, and if I've got new viewers, hello. My young brother plays for Dundee United. He's currently out with a really bad injury, but he plays for Dundee United under 18s. And he played alongside Miller Thompson quite a lot. And Miller kind of played in the right back for the under 18s. But then he get played in central midfield, right wing. He get played all over the place. But he was predominantly a right back. But he was head and shoulders above everybody else. This young guy, he was you know that way when you watch under 18 football, and but even sometimes when players are that good, they don't then go and make the transition, right? But when you're watching under 18s football, you're watching youth football, and there's that one player that stands out, and you go, nah, he's just better than everybody else. That was Miller Thompson. That's how good that young boy was, and I've seen him quite a lot. Absolutely smashing. But out on loan last season, can't remember who to. Maybe one of you have got that on the computer. I don't know. Had a cracking loan spell, and he's come into this first team, and knowing his mentality, knowing the way that the young boy thinks, he will. I think he will be a top player for Dundee United if he stays there.
Martin, you have to agree that Dundee United have been synonymous with this through the years. They do give youth a chance, don't they? I think they had another young boy playing in the group stage of the League Cup. He scored a pair.
Brandon Forbes.
There you go. So they've got it in their locker, and young boys will be at that club knowing, do you know what? See if I'm good enough here, I might actually get a chance.
Well, the big thing for Dundee United was it was money. It's money for them. It was bringing through the youth players so they could sell them on for money, which is what you've seen with Rory McLeod. They were desperate. Well, I don't know this. This isn't any inside information, but from the way I looked at it was he was going to Fulham. That fell through. Then he was going somewhere else, and he was getting minutes in the first team. But he was only getting minutes off the bench. But they do have a pool of academy players, and I'm fortunate that my brother's one of them, because as annoying as it is, he's a good wee player. And they give youth a chance. I've seen Jim Goodwin at the academy games many times. He's constantly there, and if he's not there, his assistant's there, or a coach for the first team's there. So if you are at Dundee United and you are a young player and you show potential, you absolutely will get a chance. Just like Brandon Forbes, who came on and scored that free kick. Brandon does that all the time at the under 18s. He's so quick, he's so direct, he cuts inside, he's got a beautiful shot on him. So yeah, that's another one to look out for during the season.
Yeah. And Thompson was on loan at Montrose last season.
And that made him. That he had a cracking loan spell out there, apparently, by all reports. Okay. I should be the Dundee United reporter, shouldn't I? I mean,
we're coming to the Arab rabble here.
Oh dear. Well, strap in, folks, because that's what you're getting all season long from Martin and Dundee United.
That's the only thing you're getting after me this whole show, by the way. I know nothing else.
And if Martin's brother's watching, by the way, come on the show, mate. Martin, sticking with you, the big moment in this game for Dundee United. Dundee got a corner. For whatever reason, they sent everybody up front like it was the last minute of the game and left nobody at the back, which I think Tony Docherty was fuming with on the touchline. And Trapanovsky ends up finding himself through one-on-one with the keeper. He digs it over him, and I think, is it McCowan? I think it might have been, manages to clear it off the line. Should this have been 3-1 Dundee United? And secondly, was there a foul from the goalkeeper, Trapanovsky?
I don't know if that is classed as a foul. You look at something like that and you go, well, I mean, the goalkeepers came through, he's really late, he's took him out. Technically, that should be a foul, but they're never given us fouls. They're never. You look throughout the history of football, they're not giving us fouls. But yeah, there was no conviction in the shot and the chip. It was a tame effort. If that's a Lawrence Shankland or a Bojan Majowski or a Kyogo, that's a goal. That's the difference, I think, in levels. When don't get me wrong, he's took the ball from basically the halfway line and ran it. He's done brilliantly up until that point, but he has to finish that.
Yeah, I mean, Robert, for you on that one, do you think it's a case that should he be trying to take that round the goalkeeper, or just trying to, almost blast it over him rather than the sort of silky dink? I mean, in fairness, if the Dundee defender isn't as quick at getting back, it probably trundles in anyway. But as Martin said, he didn't quite put enough on it. And with some of those players Martin mentioned, that's almost always a goal.
Listen, I think just to answer your question that you pushed to Martin, I'm glad it's not given as a foul. I think I think that's part and parcel of football for me. But he probably just doesn't do enough. It's maybe just a rush of blood to the head, the occasion. He's thinking, I can put this game to bed. As you say, it's Lyle Cameron who's sort of charging back as well. So it's one that he'll probably he'd been playing back for the last couple of days over and over. And he said, because he could have made himself a cult hero for sure. But no, I think as you say, maybe just a rush of blood to the head, and could he go around him? Could he smash it? There's a couple of options there, but he certainly didn't pick the right one on the day.
No, he certainly did not. And to be fair, you've got to give some credit to Lyle Cameron, because it's good tracking back for him. He showed good pace to get back.
He was
in
also
there.
screaming at the top of his lungs. But do you know what I found ironic about that? He was screaming at the top of his lungs, "Why is nobody back?" He wasn't back either. He just legged it. He was up beside everybody else. He's screaming and shouting, "Why is nobody back?"
It was like the whole place felt quiet, and you could just hear that one voice.
He wasn't back, but he just he made a good recovery run, to be fair.
True, yeah. And Ian, I don't think there'll be any debate about this next one. I think this is probably as clear-cut a penalty kick as you're ever likely to see this season. You know, Simon Murray, obviously we had a chat about him there, but he proved the kind of handful he can be, because Dundee, and Jim Goodwin said it as well in his post-match press conference, that they were expecting Dundee to try and hit them with those long balls up, you know, through the lines for Murray to go and chase. He does on this occasion, keeps himself just about the right side of onside, and then Ross Graham, it's a wild lunge, and he's taking Simon Murray out, stonewall penalty.
Ross Graham's made a ricket, and he knows he's made a ricket by letting it go over the top of him, misjudging it, and he's trying to get back in. The one thing I'll say is he making a genuine attempt to play the ball on that one? Because I've watched it back a couple of times, and I can't make my mind up. So I think the booking overall is probably the right decision. But there was a little bit of me thinking, did he get away with it? Could he have easily have seen red for that challenge? Because the studs were up, it takes him in the ankle, the ball's away. But you know, I think it's the double jeopardy rule anyway that he's. Does he
need?
Can send him off.
Does he need to lunge in? Because my
No,
point of view,
absolutely not.
I'm thinking, can you not just put your body in front of Simon Murray and shield the ball out, because it's quite messy. Murray's not in full control of it really, and I'm just thinking if he just sort of slides his body across him, which defenders do all the time, he probably defends it, so doesn't really need to lunge in, does he?
He doesn't need to lunge in, but he's panicking.
You've got to go to war. It's a derby.
But in the box when you're leading.
All right, Keane, calm it down.
I did not do the accent. I just want to state that I did not do the accent.
But the thing is, all right, when you're leading 2-1 in a derby, and at that moment of the game as well, Dundee United had been the better side. You know, Dundee had one or two moments where you thought, they're certainly pushing for an equaliser, but up to that point, Dundee looked in control, and then that was just a bit over the top for Graham.
You want to make a statement, but you want to make a statement challenge in a derby, whether it's the first minute or whether it's the 90th minute. And he's obviously went into that thinking, I'm going to clear this ball and I'm going to take him out. Should he have done it? No. But should players do many things when they're on a football pitch? No. You're in a derby.
You say in a derby, right? If Leon Balogun does that to Kyogo in an Old Firm, are you coming on here fuming that he's made that challenge?
Absolutely. But if Leon Balogun does that to Kyogo, gets the ball and wipes him out, I'm on here praising him.
And if he does that, if Leon Balogun does that to Kyogo in an Old Firm game, he also gets a red card.
Right. You just took it down a notch. You just took it down a notch. Can I just actually say while we're on that, sorry, to cut in, if you're watching this and you are a supporter of Dundee United, Dundee, Celtic, Hibs, Hearts, whatever, and you want to come on the show, you want to appear on the show, we want voices from other football clubs. Us four are Rangers supporters. Everybody watching this will know we are Rangers supporters. But we want voices from every team in the league. It's the Scottish Football Show. We try our best not to be biased. Of course there will be bias. Of course there will. But we try our best not to be. So if you're a supporter of any other team in the top flight and you want to come on the show and have a go at us or have your point and you want to appear on a full show, then get it in the comments or email rangersrabble@gmail.com.
Yeah, absolutely. As Martin says, we are Rangers supporters, but we're all Rangers supporters who love talking about Scottish football and talking the game up.
I mean, not with that far.
Okay, we've spent quite a fair amount of time on that game, but it deserved it. It merited it.
Can I just finish off on that game, Connor? Actually, apologies. Right?
Yep.
But see if you look at the final, the final match stats, right? It was, in terms of shots, it was 15-14 in favour of United. 9 on target for United, 4 on target for Dundee. But the overall possession, when you include that first half, Dundee had 62.9% of the possession. So see if you actually look at the final stats, I think if you're Tony Docherty coming away for that game, you're looking at that going, we didn't start well, but we made a much better account of ourselves in the second half, and we actually played. I think they played really well in the second half, Dundee.
They should have won it. They should have won the
They
game.
should have won it right.
Has a great chance.
Yep.
But that's Curtis Main. That's what Curtis Main gives you. But if you're Tony Docherty, Robert, coming away for that at the end of the game, first game of the season, it's a derby. Anything can happen in a derby. I think he comes away with a happier manager.
Yeah, I think probably. I'm sure he will do. Away from home as well. You know, they've not got the best record at Tannadice when they have played them in recent times.
It's not very far away from him, to be fair, is it?
No, well, they did say that. They done the sort of the traditional walk across Fadens to Tannadice, which is, I like that. Keep a bit of tradition going. To be fair, if you used a bus, you're lazy to do that. But yes, so shifting gears, we move back down the road, back down the M8 to Glasgow, the east end of Glasgow. It was Celtic and Kilmarnock's turn to open up their campaigns yesterday, following the Dundee derby. It was on Sky Sports as well. And overall, this was a fairly simple sort of game for Celtic in the end, wasn't it, Iain? 4-0, Kilmarnock coming off a bit of a European hangover, would you say?
Yeah, I think this kind of shows that Kilmarnock haven't got the depth and strength to cope with domestic and European football at the same time. They've kind of rested some of their better players for this one with their Thursday night match in mind as well. For Kilmarnock, it's probably the worst possible place to go at the start of the season. A hyped up Parkhead on Trophy Day, everyone ready to go. And Celtic did look impressive in parts. They're knocking that ball about quickly. Kilmarnock at times were just guessing where the ball was going. The movement was good. So credit where credit's due. The Celtic did play well. It was, I think, Kilmarnock can be in for a long early part of the season just because of the rigours of having European football in the background as well. But I mean, they had their chances early doors. They certainly had their chances. They could have done a bit of a shocker on them, but overall, it told that the strength and depth that one team had over the other. It told as the game went on.
82% possession, 32 shots to 5, 13 on target to 2. I mean, it's a doing. It's an absolute doing. But if you're a Celtic supporter watching that and you're looking at that lineup, apart from Kasper Schmeichel, not a single new signing in that Celtic team.
It doesn't look like they're going to really need it domestically. Or European-wise, possibly, but domestically.
But for any Celtic supporter that you speak to, and my old boss in work used to say to me, it's great we win the league, but we're dreadful in Europe, and I'm fed up with it. Yeah. I think there's no negative for any Celtic supporter to take away for that game. They were excellent. They controlled the game. O'Reilly again showing that he's probably the best player in the league. I don't think anybody can really.
Is he going to? Do you think he's going to leave in the summer? Seen rumours out today that Brighton are apparently up in their interest in him. I think Celtic are looking for somewhere in the region of about 25 million for him. Will they get that? Is another thing. But do you think by September 1st he will be off elsewhere?
If somebody matches the valuation that Celtic set, then yeah, absolutely. He'll be gone. It's hard to value players in Scotland. It's really, really difficult to value players in Scotland because you can't look at a Matt O'Reilly, right, who plays fantastic against that Kilmarnock team and go, he's worth 25 million. And if it was Rangers, it would be the same. The way that you big up your value is by playing well in Europe if you're in a Scottish team. And I've not really watched Celtic in Europe. So I can't sit here and tell you what Matt O'Reilly's valuation is, how much you should go for, etc., etc. But if somebody matches the valuation that Celtic set, then yeah, he'll be away.
Fair enough, yeah. Well, on the game itself, Robert, Celtic took the lead through Rio Hatate, another man who's been very much had the transfer speculation ramping up around him as well, which he would be a blow if he left. I think that proved last season when he was missing for a while through injury. But yeah, a bit of a mix-up in the Kilmarnock defence before this one. Mayo gave the ball to Greg Taylor, who then manages to find Hatate in the edge of the box. And to be fair, it's a great finish for Rio Hatate. Not much Robbie McCrory can do about it.
listen, Kilmarnock just did not get to grips with Celtic and how quickly they started. Been saying it for a couple of seasons on this show. I think the way you win the Scottish Premiership is by moving teams about quick and having a great tempo week in, week out. And Celtic have showcased that under their previous manager. Maybe not so much last year under Brendan Rodgers, but they seem to be getting things together this year. You mentioned Hatate will probably come on to Kyogo. Players look much more like themselves under Brendan Rodgers, where I think early doors they didn't. They looked kind of out of sorts. James Forrest looked like he was 26, no nearly 30 odd. He really rolling back the years early on in that game as well. So listen, it's a great finish. I have to say, like these guys, I don't think Kilmarnock even. The mentality just said to me, they just let's go up, just get rid of the game, put it under the carpet and move on. And I think that seemed like the attitude before kick-up, which I think is really poor for Derek McInnes. I'm not going to sort of slander him, but I think you've got to go there and make a better fist of it. They weren't even stringing passes together. They were just sort of sitting back and waiting to get beat. They almost like they accepted it. And I get that you're in Europe, but the trouble you have with some other probably managing a bit better actually in terms of the recruitment they've done, but you look at Hearts. Hearts have gone and get sort of three players for every position because they know they need to have that big a squad if they're going to do anything in Europe. So I think Kilmarnock are going to get a real awakening this year and try how Derek McInnes tries to balance domestic and European and keep everyone fit as well.
I will say, Connor, on that first goal, it is horrendous defending. It is amateur defending. But I think Robert's absolutely spot on because I know I'm going ahead here, but if you listen to Derek McInnes' interview after the game, he pretty much said in that interview, we didn't get any injuries, I'm happy. It was almost as if they went there to just... And look, let's be brutally honest, if Kilmarnock had went there with a full intent, with our strongest team, and Celtic go there with full intent with our strongest team, 99 times out of 100, 99.9 times out of 100, Celtic win, because they're a much better team than Kilmarnock. But yeah, I got that feeling throughout the game that Kilmarnock were almost just kind of sitting off, let's just get out of here without getting a doing. And you have to say fair play to Celtic, they capitalised on that and absolutely battered them.
Yeah, they did. And I mean, listen, Ian, you're never going to judge Kilmarnock really on a game like that. Opening day, as you said earlier, Celtic, their fans are there for the sort of the title after party, if you will, for the flag being raised. So that compounded with European performances. But you might have felt, given Kilmarnock had a fairly decent record against Celtic last year, fairly 50-50 in the games. They won, beat them twice, knocked them out of the cup, got a draw at Parkhead as well. But it didn't really turn up in this one. The only real chance they did have, which I did manage to take note of, there was one, two, was, Vassell, I think, showed the kind of strength he's got when he managed to actually outmuscled Carter Vickers, which is not an easy feat to do, and he managed to whip it in for Matty Kennedy, who got up a half decent effort away, given that it's a first time half volley and goes straight to Kasper Schmeichel. I mean, do you think he could have done any better with that? It was only 1-0 at that time, so had he managed to convert that, might have changed things.
The quality that Matty Kennedy's got, he could have done better with it, but it comes to him fairly quickly. He gets a good connection. It just goes to exactly where Kasper Schmeichel's standing. So on another day, like last season, I think in full flight last season with Kilmarnock, that may well have been different. But they didn't seem to be, like Martin said, it was more of a contained, make sure we get out of here without getting an absolute doing, and focus on Thursday, because Thursday's bigger for the club than this game.
They got an absolute doing. That's the trouble that, like Martin says.
Well, they did. They did get a doing.
Just go there and have a go, because the result might just be exactly the same, but at least you can see, you've got that to sort of back it up. Well, we tried our best.
It was a concentration for me, Robert, and that first goal was so evident in the concentration. It was so amateur defending, it was untrue. They had the ball, all they had to do was lump it up the park, and it was as if they were confused. But I don't want, as 4 Rangers supporters, this to sound like sour grapes. I don't think any of us are sitting here and taking anything away from Celtic. Absolutely, because the link-up play between O'Reilly and Hatate was excellent. Rio Hatate coming back into that Celtic team fully fit is a game changer. He is a cracking player. Kyogo looked like the sharp Kyogo that's destroyed Rangers over the last few seasons. So I'm not sitting here saying that the only reason that Celtic won that game was because Kilmarnock went there and weren't interested. Not saying that at all. I was just disappointed with Derek McInnes. But does that not then show you how important Europe might be to clubs like Kilmarnock? just simply financially, and that he's putting all his eggs in getting to that. Is it the Europa League group stage Kilmarnock will go, or is it the Europa League in it? That 4 or 5 million.
It's the conference league.
Conference now.
Conference.
Conference now.
They got-
See that
they
2 or
got
3
beat by
million
Bruges.
that they would be guaranteed by getting into the conference. Maybe that's more important to Kilmarnock than putting in a performance against Celtic at Park.
No, listen, I think it's important overall for Scottish football. I mean, let's look at it. We've got 3 teams who will be in group stage football. If both St Mirren and Kilmarnock somehow were to pull that off, that would be an incredible feat for Scottish football to have 4 or 5 teams.
We've been crying, Connor. We've been crying out for that for years. And
Yeah,
I mean,
to be fair, listen,
if you actually
I'm gonna-
take it back, Connor. Take it back when Scott Brown was in the newspapers having a go at Rangers and the rest of the teams in Scotland for not being in Europe, and then fast forward to us getting to a European final, Celtic getting beat in Europe comfortably, and no other team in Europe doing anything. So if we could have 5 teams in Europe, it puts more money into the game. If we get better players coming through the youth, all good, man.
Yeah,
all good.
absolutely.
That's what we want to see.
Listen, and we'll come on to them later, but St Mirren put in probably one of the best out with Old Firm European performances we've seen in a long time last week. Yeah, so you never know. But anyway, sticking with this one, Robert, we spoke about it, defence for the first goal. This is just as bad. Arguably, it's worse. Now, listen, first thing to say here is fair play to Liam Scales. It's a great header he gets on it. He manages to get good power on it and directs it exactly where you want it to be into the corner. For a centre back who's not necessarily known for his goal scoring prowess, that's a lovely finish. But, and I hate to do this because we sang his praises on this show last season, but what on earth is Lewis Mayo doing? He completely loses his man, and then he slips, but there's no way that Liam Scales should be getting round him with that much ease for a free header.
No, absolutely not. Just gets down, and at that minute you just know that it's where that goal's ended up. As you say, fair play to Scales. I think Derek McKinnon obviously highlighted that the back line had been sort of makeshift in the sense that they brought the boy up on loan for Sunderland, had to throw him straight in. I think they met the guys on Saturday morning. He was straight in on Sunday, so communication could be cited in that one. But yeah, it's just a poor goal to lose. And for that moment on, I think you just knew where this one was ending up. It was going to be whatever Celtic wanted it to be. To be honest.
Can I just say though, right? To be honest, it's a cracking header.
He's done really well.
It's an absolutely cracking header, and I don't even think Celtic fans would argue with us saying that if Celtic want to progress in Europe and do better, Liam Scales cannot be Celtic centre back. Long term, he is not good enough. Carter Vickers, I hate to say it, fantastic centre back. He marshals that defence really well and probably helps Liam Scales through it. But long term, Liam Scales is not a Celtic centre back, but that is a cracking header.
No, absolutely, it was a crack header. And then, as Robert says, Iain, Martin, sorry, we'll go with you. As Robert says there, at that point it was pretty much game, set and match. And if it wasn't, Nicholas Kuhn certainly made sure it was shortly after. Again, poor Lewis Mayo. He seemed to be involved in everything. Again, it's good play, for Kuhn. I have to say though, right, good play, good hit, deflects off Mayo and goes in. But my pet peeve with this, and I hate seeing this, especially as a goalkeeper, when I watch my defenders do this, he is, travelled at a fair distance with that ball. There's 3 or 4 Kilmarnock defenders there. Somebody put a tackle in. I mean, come on, they're all stood off. Again, taking nothing away from Nicholas Kuhn, because he struggled in the early part of last year, and he seems to really be looking a player now under Rodgers and done well. But for me, your defender's got to try and make a challenge here.
I think it goes back to what we spoke about in terms of the mentality of the Kilmarnock team going out there. I think maybe that's got something to do with it. But again, you have to say a defender's worst nightmare is when a fast attacker is running at them. And he's done really well. And he's done that thing with his feet where it confuses defenders and they're going left or going right as he's cutting inside. Like 9 times out of 10, that either deflects over the bar or it hits off the defender and goes out. Kilmarnock were having one of those days. Lewis Mayo was having one of those days. It goes off his foot and it goes over Robbie McCrory's head. I don't really think there's much really that could be done about it.
No, certainly isn't. Okay.
Good play from Kuhn, though. Good play from Kuhn.
Yeah, great play from Kuhn. Okay, it was 3-0 at this stage. It doesn't matter much, but it is a contentious moment in the game. After Kyogo gets a goal ruled out for offside, Celtic get a free kick which is launched into the box. Kyogo looks like he's going to get on the end of it, or maybe just get a touch. Collides with McCrory and the Kilmarnock goal, and claims are there for a penalty. Michael Stewart and Mark Wilson thought it was a stone waller on Sports Scene. What is your take? Is that a penalty kick for you?
Let's see. I don't know about this one. My initial thoughts.
Yes, then.
my initial thoughts were not a penalty, but when it was replayed, it was like, do you know what? I can understand if it was given. I could understand why they would give it. But it's gone to VAR. VAR have said it's not. There must be something there. I know that VAR gets a bad press, particularly in Scotland, for the way it goes. But they didn't give it. I mean, I'm surprised it wasn't given, not because of where it was. It was just, for me, on first glance, it was a penalty.
Robert, for you, quickly, penalty, no penalty?
Listen, penalty or no penalty, I just think, where is McCrory meant to go? Like, where else can he go but where he ends up? He's coming out to get that ball. It's sort of dinked over the back line, and then, Kyogo makes his way through, which he's very, very good at. So, listen, it's one of them. I just think they're not going to be crying over it. They won the game handsomely, so I think it's a bit of a non-event. But what I will say is, like, if it's 0-0 and that happens, then the place is probably up in rapture.
Kyogo's reputation going against him a wee bit, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, listen, for me, and me, Keepers Union and all that, me and Ian, I think there was a case for a penalty. The one thing I would say, I think Kyogo was that quick that McCrory is doing the right thing as a keeper, coming out to try and clear it, and it's just a question. I think if they'd given it, probably would have complained, but as you say, bit of a non-event given that they were 3 up. And then, of course, the goal scoring was rounded off by Tony Ralston. Again, Kyogo was involved. Gets his effort saved by McCrory, but it's straight into the path of Ralston, Robert, for a tap-in, and it kind of summed the afternoon up for both teams. Some great play for Celtic and some not so great play from Kilmarnock.
I think you're doing him a disservice saying it was a tap-in. I think it was a decent finish from a tight angle, to be honest, and a bit of redemption after this poor summer that he's had. Look, to go back to the original sort of opening gambit that Martin gave, Celtic have got on their board. They've got a big decision to make. So they're looking at that thinking, right, look, we don't need anything for this league. We're fine as we are. But as Martin says, they're getting into a new format in the Champions League, more games, home and away. You're not playing each other twice, and the Celtic fans are demanding that they get through into maybe the next round. So to do that, you're not going to be able to go out and get £2-3 million players. They're going to need to go out and spend 7, 8, 9, 10 million pounds on these guys to come in and have quality to start. So the board have got a massive decision to make over the next 20 odd days. So we'll see how that pans out. But it'll be interesting to see if they go the way and think, no, we've got enough. How Brendan Rodgers will play that out in the media.
Especially if they do end up selling O'Reilly. But regardless of the money they get for him, that's a big hole in their team if he goes. And that fourth goal, as you're saying, Connor, that's again started, though, by Callum McGregor in the middle of the park. Celtic are doing really well. They could rest on their laurels. They could rest up and take their foot off the gas, but McGregor's still there. He's getting his shirt basically pulled off his body. He still gets past the man and sets I think it's Ralston he sets away in it.
Yeah, it is. Aye. Okay, well, we'll park that one there. And we'll shift ourselves east to Tannadice in Edinburgh. This one won't take us.
Tynecastle.
Tynecastle. I've got Tannadice in the brain, you see. Was that good? Tynecastle is what I meant to say. There's too many T's. Yes, Tynecastle. There won't be an awful lot to say about this one. What I'm conscious to do, right, because I know we've all had our say on this over the weekend. Well, I don't know if you have, Robert, in terms of Fair Rangers' point of view and the connotations for us. So to try and do Wolf a bit of a service, given we won't spend much time talking about an 0-0 draw, let's try and come at this from a Hearts perspective if we can. Ian, Hearts in this game, in the early going in the first half, they certainly had some chances to go in front. I think was it Vargas produced a great save out of Jack Butland at his near post. Okay, some would say you should save at your near post, but it was a good save. They certainly looked up for this one, Hearts, didn't they?
I mentioned it on the pod that we had done that you're going to go to Edinburgh. You're going to play Hearts on the open day of the season. It's such a tight pitch. The crowd's on top of you. They're going to be right up for it because they're playing Rangers on day one. They're going to expect their team to go for it, which they absolutely did. And like you say, Vargas was everywhere in that first half, and he was giving our backline a torrid time, particularly down the right hand side. Butland is a quality keeper. You're going to have to do a lot better than that to beat him at his near post. But these things can take you by surprise sometimes if you're not expecting it to go that way. I'm sure, like you've already mentioned, as being part of the goalkeepers union, that the odd occasional one at your near post takes you by surprise and manages to sneak in. Mm-hmm. But that first half, it was Hearts, for me, kind of blew their chances a little bit by not getting that early lead. I think they needed something out of what that domination they did have in the first half to try and force us out a little bit more. They would have been well worth it had they taken that lead as well. And Vargas was just dangerous that entire first 45 minutes.
We can't not praise Hearts, Connor, because Wolf will be in the comments absolutely destroying us. I think the biggest compliment you can probably pay Hearts is they finished third last season. Naismith done well. And he's made some really good additions to that Hearts team. He's made that Hearts team stronger. And I think they'll be a difficult team to catch for third place this season, especially as the new players bed in and, Jan Dander starts to get a grip of it. More games for them. Vargas looked really good. Taylor, the boy at right back that they brought in, looked extremely solid and has some throw on him. So he's actually made a Hearts team that finished third last season even better. And the only thing stopping Hearts from progressing is Stephen Naismith.
Yeah, I mean, Robert, that's a fair point, is it? And I mean, for you, so far, as we sit here in the 6th of August, have Hearts won the summer transfer window so far in terms of they got their business early, Danda, Spittle coming in the door.
7th August.
It's the 6th of August, mate.
It's the 7th of August. It's
no.
going out tomorrow.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, very good. We are recording this on the 6th. It's going out on the 7th.
We'll just edit that out. It's fine. We'll edit it out.
Anywho, for you, as we sit here on the 7th of August, have Hearts won the summer transfer window thus far for you?
Look, we talk about picking the best for the rest. They've certainly, used that mantra in the pickups they've done for in Penrice and Danda, who's been mentioned, and Spittle, who you've said before as well. So, but I do like the look of this fullback, this Costa Rican fullback. They've obviously got a scout over there, and that neck of the woods, because he's picked up Vargas and then he's picked up Taylor as well. What I will say is, I think it was a tale of two halves, that game, wasn't it? Clearly, they played really well first half, and Rangers obviously came into the second half. So as Ian said, they'll be kicking themselves. They didn't capitalise on all the opportunity they did have. I would say, if you sit here on the 7th of August, that Hearts are a shoe-in for third. However, I do think they'll have a bit more competition and they'll be ran a bit closer than they were last year.
Well, should that be the next one that Paddy Power pay out on Ian Hearts to finish third? I mean, it's only one game, but I think we've seen enough ourselves anyway to confirm that, have we not?
I think they've probably already paid out on Hearts finishing second the way that Paddy Power work, but and if they want to clip that little bit and put it on one of the little Twitter ads, then feel free. But I won't pay in if they do.
But can I just point out as well? I'm playing Statman in this episode, right? Absolutely. Forget the possession rate. Rangers had 62% of the overall possession. Forget that. It was 19 shots to 9 for Hearts, but both teams had 3 shots on target. So if Naismith's taking anything away for that game, it's that they need to get better at that. Because if they had a few more shots on target in that first half, 1 or 2 might have went in the way that Hearts approached that game.
Do you think it was a missed opportunity for Hearts to get the 3 points? I know we had, Rangers had chances as well that they could have won it. But in terms of, when you look at Naismith's tenure at Hearts, he's had 7 cracks against Rangers. He's not won any of them. That's probably as close as he's came. But will he, in the background, be kicking himself a bit, thinking that was probably the opportunity there?
Well, I've kind of blocked the game out from my memory, if I'm being brutally honest with you. But can you think of an absolute clear-cut chance that Hearts had that was better than any clear-cut chance that we had? I don't think so. I think it was the first half was Hearts, second half was Rangers. Albeit Hearts had far more shots. But again, if you're having 19 shots, and you're only getting 3 on target,
Yeah.
then you can't really complain with a draw.
No, absolutely. Okay, well, before we round this off, we'll go around you and get your answer on this one. I think I know Martin and Ian's, I suspect. But corner bar and handball, because Wolf won't forgive me if I don't at least bring it up, because I'm sure he'll be screaming it in. Quite right as well. I'd be doing the same. Ian, penalty kick for you, or was that the right call made by the officials?
I know this will come off sounding very, very biased considering what I've said previously, but for me, not a penalty on this one. I think, as somebody in our own group chat put, that the one that Sports Scene decided to use as a compare and contrast was Souttar's handball for a similar thing last year, which VAR then ruled to be the wrong decision. So, for me, no penalty. His hand is there, so he's protecting his face, and it hits his arm, and biomechanics and all that stuff.
Yeah, Robert, any issues for you?
No, listen, obviously there's been a change in the way they're approaching this handball because of how sort of, well, a mess it was last season. So you're sort of, that's where I think the questions are coming in, because people are so used to seeing the ones that were given last year. They're obviously trying to get away from that this year. So it wasn't given. I don't think there can be any complaints there. It's as long as it's consistent throughout the season.
Yeah, that is the point. That has to then become consistent, because the minute another handball like that is given, then it's they favour Rangers or blah blah blah, or they'll cast it back to this game. See if it's the last game of the season and an exact incident like that is given, whether the game's meaningless or not, then they'll cast it back to the first game of the season. The truth is, I don't know whether that's a handball or not, because I don't know what the handball rule is anymore. We were all told, by Willie Collum, there's going to be more transparency and blah, blah, blah. And the handball rule is going to be a lot tougher. They're not just going to be given handballs for every handball scenario. Had it been given, I don't think any of us could be sitting here going, well, I mean, it wasn't a penalty, but it wasn't given.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Okay.
If that's given in an Old Firm game, by the way,
it's one of those, isn't it? Is if it's against you, you want it. If it's against you, you don't want it given. If it's for you, you want it.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. Regular viewers of the Scottish Football Show will not be surprised to know that this show does tend to go across the hour mark. We've still got 3 games to cover off, and we're at 52 and a bit minutes here. So, but this is because we love talking about it, and this is, you can't get enough,
And also, let's be brutally honest, Connor, we're recording this before Rangers' European game against Dynamo Kiev, and we're all shaking ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. The distraction is more than welcome for us all. Okay, off to Paisley we go, Roberta. St Mirren v Hibs. Now, this one, we sort of had a chat before we come on, and we all kind of said that when you looked at the scoring, just the result, you thought, oh yeah, St Mirren have given them an absolute doing. Wasn't quite the case. That first half, when you see it, was very back and forth. They both had some real good chances. Hibs in particular had some big chances, and one that Dylan Venter will not want to look back on anytime soon. Have we, on game day 1, have we already seen the miss of the season?
Listen, there's no getting away from him. And see minutes before that, he's involved in a very nice move. I think it was Maletnikov. He's a wee flip to him, and he gets a shot away, and I think it's blocked. And then he goes and does that. It's really not really come of age for him at Hibs yet since that move for was it the Dutch second division. He came with so much promise. He scored so many goals. He's just not able to do it so far for Hibs. So I thought St Mirren were actually sleepwalking in the first half. I thought they missed Mark O'Hara. I know Boyd Munce comes in, but I don't think he gives them the same sort of edge as O'Hara does. So again, Stevie Robinson said he had to get them in at half time, just sort of remind them what they were good at. And and try and get them going again, which they did. But as you say, Hibs had a lot of chances in this game. A lot of chances. I'm sure the stat man's got them there, he'll tell us, but they just could not convert.
Yep. Well, we've put the stat signal up there. Come on, stat man.
Do you think David Gray was thinking at half time that he wished a boat would just come and Dylan Venter would just sail away?
That's honking, by the way.
That's so bad, isn't it? That's not even funny. That's how bad that is.
Oh dear. Well, I was going to come to Martin next, but after that, Ian, I think I'll just
Sin bin him.
I'm desperately trying to make a David Gray reference in my head, and that was the only thing I could think of. I apologise to everybody.
Oh dear. Yeah, well, Martin. After that, the first half continued along the same vein. Some opportunities. I think there was one. Was it Olisanya slid a Junga in, and he puts it into the side net. And
he goes near post. You go far post there.
Yeah, you should cut across the goalkeeper. And then one that I do think is worth noting before we delve into the goals. Balcom, for me, in the sticks makes a great save for St Mirren, because that ball deflects or ricochets off Gogic very, very quickly, and it's low into his corner, and he manages to tip it out for a corner kick.
Gogic looked slow for me in this game. I don't know if you're the only ones that, maybe I'm the only one that feels that, but Gogic reaction times in this one, he was almost took by surprise a few times. And yeah, look, it was a very, very good save. I actually felt that even at points in the second half, but more so in the first half, Hibs had enough chances to at least score one or two goals for me. And yeah, the St Mirren goalkeeper done well, but Hibs for me, if Hibs score one of them in the first half, that is a completely different game. The score says 3-0, but it does not tell you any of the story of this game. No,
it certainly doesn't. And I have it on good authority that Gogic reaction times is going to be St Mirren's first ever board game release very, very soon. But yeah, Ian, St Mirren do get in front early on in the second half. After everything that happened in the first half, Hibs must have been coming out thinking, right, keep trying to continue along the same vein, create opportunities, a goal will come. And it did, but it wasn't for them. And you've got to say, Ian, I mean, this is a clear goal of the weekend contender, this. Iduwu, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sure that's how you pronounce it. A good bit of link-up play, and then down that side, he cuts back, almost a sort of Cruyff-esque turn, and then just fires into the corner. I mean, it's a wonderful finish.
There's only one way that I can describe this goal, and that is sex on a plate.
Sex on a plate. Absolutely.
Sex on a plate. It was an absolutely fantastic goal, sublime way to open the scoring, and a sublime way to open your own personal account as well. I don't think he may not score a better goal all season than what he did there today. He made a good effort at it. He hit the post with the one later on in the game.
I was going to say it was almost sex on a plate times two.
It would have been. And my kitchen would have been just no. We'll leave that alone. But yeah, I mean, over the second half, I think St Mirren deserved that. I mean, Hibs could have been one, maybe two goals ahead before that even happened. But if you don't take your chances, usually there's a stinger coming. And what a stinger it was! Absolutely brilliant finish into the far corner. No chance for the keeper whatsoever. Yeah, just a sublime goal all round.
But you say that, Ian, right? But not long after that goal, Martin Boyle's through and goal and should score.
But it's Martin Boyle, and
Martin Boyle scores a barrel load of goals for Hibs.
He does score a barrel load of goals, but also Martin Boyle's part of the catalyst reason that Hibs didn't score today, because there was a few times he's put the blinkers on and he's not playing people in when he's had the chance to. So I put a lot, not a lot of it, but it's particularly the chances in the second half that if Boyle just gets his head up and looks and slots somebody else in who's got a better position. But
that's the type of game that this was, though. It's Hibs have been the better team in the first half. St Mirren have come out, scored an absolutely wonderful goal by a guy who looks like a player, by the way. And then Martin Boyle, not long after it, is through and goal, and Hibs should score. And it happened another couple of times in that second half. So if you're David Gray, If you're David Gray, you're coming away for that game going, do you know what, we get beat 3-0, but, there's definitely optimism there.
They've got in two wingers today, Junior Hoylett and Nicky Cadden's come in as well. Like that, surely you'd be getting a finish. You need a finisher. Somebody can get these chances.
Yeah.
Yep. Very fitting, Robert, isn't it, that Martin makes the David Gray references because he does babble on.
That's a good one. I like that one.
I'm here all night.
Just stop there.
Finished, retired. But yes, simple question for you for this second goal, Robert. But what's the defender doing? Because this is absolutely tragic defending for Potato.
But this is a game. I feel like Hibs just repeat the same mistakes year upon year. We've been saying for about 4 seasons they've got no defenders. They need centre halves in, and the centre halves they bring in are just not good enough. So, listen, I think it's James Scott pounces on it, and then you've got O'Sheen Smith who gets the header away and makes it 2-0. Listen, look, St Mirren came out in the second half and just seemed to control the game for that point. I think they took ownership, they upped their game, they put their chances away. You've got David Gray. I don't think as Martin says, concerned about the performance. It's more so the result. They had chances there to win 2 games, as the old cliche would say, and they've come away with a 3-0 defeat against a side that they probably want to finish above St Mirren this year. Let's be honest, they've come up with this all new. They've got new investment. They're going to be bringing all these players in and spending all this money. Is it Ben Kessler? If I said his name right, he's promised that it won't all just be loan signings. Hibs fans are up in arms. You're looking on social media. I'm not happy with the stewardship of the club at the moment, and that seems to be the running theme for the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, the stats of the game, right? Hibs 57.5% of the overall possession. Hibs had 15 shots to St Mirren's 9, but they only had 3 in target to St Mirren's 4, but they had 6 block shots as well. So they had the majority of possession and they had the majority of the shots. So I think, like you're absolutely saying, Connor, you made the point. Hibs need a number 9.
Yeah, no, 100% they do. And I mean, let's be honest here, Martin, if you were to put money on the first manager to get sacked again this season, sad as it is to say, with the start they've had, David Gray, I know he's good graces there because his time as captain and stuff like that, but he needs better results than this, and it isn't getting any easier for them at the weekend at all.
Well, he scored the goal in the cup final against us to win it for Hibs, so I've got absolutely no sympathy for him. None.
No regards.
None.
Yeah, it's safe to say he's the early leader in the race to get your.
If I was to pick the first manager to get sacked, who I hope would get sacked, you all know who that would be. But if David Gray goes, he goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ian, it was all pretty academic at this point, although Hibs did have 1 or 2 bite back moments as Martin touches on with Boyle and stuff, but St Mirren do eventually make it 3, and it's that same combination again of James Scott and Smith linking up with each other. And again, it's a good run, good bit of play, cut across, and Smith just slots it into the bottom corner, makes it 3-0 and secures the 3 points. And a very good day for St Mirren, a very good week for them, in fact, because we spoke earlier about Kilmarnock and European hangovers, and while there might have been an element of that in the first half, which Stevie Robinson alluded to, none of it in the second half. They were excellent.
A cracking week for St Mirren. But what I liked about this goal was the intelligence from Smith, because you can see that all the defenders are pushing back to get into position, and he just stops. And they're nice and easy. Allen looks up, cut back, bang, goal. Nice and easy. It's just the intelligence of 2 players who seem to have worked each other out quite quickly. It makes for a decent goal in the end, and like you said, an all-round decent week for St Mirren. One that I think their fans are going to enjoy for quite a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, we park that there, and we shift our attentions to Fir Park. I think basically.
This won't take long.
No. I think sum up in two words. It happened. It was a game. It did take place. Not much to speak about in this. I struggled to find many notes to put down, but I did manage to put down a couple. Motherwell, Robert, did have a couple of decent chances. The early going, Zach Robinson got through, slots it wide. Another one of these one-on-ones with the keeper where he's got his goal that.
Theo Beer scores that, right?
100%.
This game, honestly, was just so void of any quality. The fact that it was the only other game on the Saturday was the only reason that it got so much coverage on Sportscene on Saturday night. I just thought it was so poor. The only real sort of bit to talk about was probably Laidlaw, the county keeper. He made a couple of decent saves, but just, I mean, Andy Halliday, like, what has happened to that guy? I thought he was really good at Hearts. Got married. Listen, I thought he was really good at Hearts in his first season, and he just seemed going off the boil. I don't. He can't make a 5-yard pass. He's really slow on the ball. Decision making poor. Again, on the I don't even know why I'm on a football podcast. I predicted in the SPFL show that Motherwell would have a good season. Could be a long one for them again.
Well, that's it.
I mean, do you want the stats, Connor? And then we'll move on. Do you want the stats?
Go. Yeah, absolutely.
50-50 possession. 12 shots to 7 in favour of Motherwell. 3 shots on target each. Motherwell had 23 touches in Ross County's box, and Ross County had 13 touches in Motherwell's box.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. Summed up there. I do think that though that the goalkeepers deserve a slight nod, because both of them did actually make decent saves. Ross Laidlaw, first of all, Iain as a fellow goalkeeper. You know,
I'm a goalkeeper as well, by the way. I just want to make that known.
Oh, you're a goalkeeper as well. I didn't know you were a goalkeeper. There we go. Okay, well, Martin, another fellow goalkeeper. We'll cover you. Laidlaw makes a decent save. Close in effort for Wilson, who hits one for just outside the 18-yard box. Oh, what a hit. What a save. And just before that, he had one point blank hit at him as well by Obaye after Wilson also involved, fires it across. So a couple of real good moments for him, especially after he didn't have his best season last year.
Aye. I mean, is this the point that we've got to in this game where we're mentioning 2 saves that a keeper should make, but good saves at that?
Only thing that happened. That's the highlight of the game.
The highlight of the game, isn't it? And keepers have good games. Keepers have bad games. But yeah, when you're in a team like Ross County, you're always going to be under more pressure as the goalkeeper, aren't you? So it's harder for you. It's harder for you. And yeah, hopefully that helps his confidence going forward. But we're really just padding now, because I don't think there's much more to say.
No, there isn't much more to say.
Who is the Motherwell keeper? He's apparently been there for a couple of years, never played.
Hale Oxborough.
Never heard of him.
Apparently has been here for a couple of years.
Makes a good soup.
Well, that God dear. But the thing is, Iain, and we'll end on this, but I think it's a question worth asking, because when you look at Motherwell this season, they will be desperate to try and get into that top 6, because it was poor. Last season, we were on here in the first few weeks, myself, Robert, even you, raving about how good they were playing Motherwell. At the time, Motherwell and St Mirren were the standout teams. Kettlewell and Robinson couldn't put a foot wrong, and then it's just gone on a decline for Kettlewell. Now, losing Liam Kelly, obviously, with him coming in our direction, for you, is it a concern that you've got a lad like Oxborough in there who, as Robert says, has been there for a while and never played, now taking the number 1 jersey? Is that a potential weakness for Motherwell?
I think the weakness now is the fact that they've lost a hell of a lot of quality throughout the pitch, and they've not replaced that quality. When, like you said, Theo Bear scores that goal, so where are their goals coming from? Because they don't seem to have that sort of replacement in Kelly leaving and the new keeper coming in. I've forgotten his name. He's obviously not going to be. For me personally, I don't think he's as good as Liam Kelly is. So they've lost quality at both ends, at the very important ends of the pitch. And if they were to lose Miller in the middle as well, I think it will be an extremely long season for Motherwell. And it's making me make my choices.
Just quickly, Robert, does it surprise you they've not replaced particularly Bear? Because I'm just thinking, right, and the reason I ask it is because I'm going back in my mind a good 10, 15 years with Motherwell. They've always had a half-decent striker up front in that time, whether it was John Sutton at one point back in the day, who was decent for them. You had Louis Moult, who was superb. Curtis Main had his best spell in a Motherwell jersey by far, because he's done hee-haw since he left them. Van Veen, obviously, was up there. You had what was his name? The big boy they got for Millwall, I think it was, Ryan Bowman, and then obviously Theo Bair doing the job last year. Why haven't they filled that gap yet this year? Because
Well,
they've
they've
been good
tried,
at it.
haven't they? They've went out and spent money on the boy for the A-League. He's on the bench.
Yeah.
So obviously they're going to try and they put their eggs in that basket. They've paid a transfer fee for him. I don't know if it was over £250,000, something like that. So they'll be looking to try and get him up to speed and get him firing goals. That's going to be the
why didn't they go for a Simon Murray, for example? Because he's surely at their level. He could do a job.
Because I'd imagine Dundee paying more money than Motherwell.
Fair point. Okay, I think we've stretched that out long enough. Finally, we round off as the weekend did on Monday night last night. St Johnstone against Aberdeen. Jimmy Taylor's first game in charge in the league, Martin. I thought, I must say, that the early part of this game, I thought it was a decent game. I thought both teams had good opportunities. St Johnstone, an early effort that was just over the bar, a header went wide, and Aberdeen as well. Listen, we all know our feelings on Aberdeen, but I was impressed by them because I thought they looked really dangerous every time they went forward.
I'm going to put my hands up here and say I've only seen the 5-minute highlight package of this game. So from what I've seen, especially in that first half of it, and I'm only going by highlights, so Aberdeen fans, St Johnstone fans, apologies. But most of the highlights seem to be for Aberdeen, and it seemed to be, again, Majowski leading the attack for Aberdeen, looking really sharp. He had a phenomenal long shot that cannons off the bar, and the majority of chances in that first half seemed to fall to Aberdeen. What I will say is, what a horrendous away strip that is.
To be fair, I looked at that strip and genuinely I thought to myself, that could have been a Livingston home kit.
Yeah.
Which is not high praise. But Iain, Aberdeen got the first real big chance of the game. Sockler one-on-one with Josh Ray, who I must say, and I will hold my hands up and say, I've seen him in person a few times last season at Airdrieonians games. I think he's a splendid bit of business for St Johnstone. He's a top goalkeeper, that boy, and he's got big things in his future. But a good save for him to send it wide. But again, as is the question, all these one-on-ones that the strikers seem to be missing. Sockler, I know he didn't have to wait long to go in front, which we'll come to, but Sockler should have put them in front there. If
you switch it around and it's Sockler putting Majowski through, it's 1-0. Luckily, this was included in the 2-minute YouTube video that I saw. If you switch the roles around, it's 1-0. I think Sockler is a decent striker, and take nothing away from the keeper, though. He spreads himself really well, gets that leg out to push the ball away. I'd be quite happy with making a save like that myself. If I can get my leg to do stuff like that, it'd be even better.
I was going to say, me and you might not get back up though after it. That's the problem.
I definitely wouldn't get back up. There's no chance I'm getting. Once I'm on the ground,
I'm popping a hip if that's me. But it should be 1-0 at that point. It was a gilt-edged chance, but like I said, if you swap the roles around, it would be. I just don't think Sockler's on the level of Majowski.
No, he's certainly not. And Robert, as I said, Aberdeen didn't have to wait very long to go in front because from the resulting corner kick, I guess it's a good cross in. Nicky Devlin up there heads home the opener for Aberdeen. Great ball, great header. Question marks over how he's got a free header in the first place. So I'm sure Craig Levine, who does enjoy a defence, will want to, look at that.
Listen, free header, nobody on the post. There's two things that stop that goal straight away. Just to come back on the occasion itself, you have to credit St Johnstone fans. That's probably the fullest I've heard McDermott Park with a Rangers Celtic visiting.
Very close to a sellout. Really impressed. Absolutely.
I thought it was quite a good occasion, to be fair. I have been massively impressed with Aberdeen. That's why I said to you earlier, I think Hearts will be ran closer. I think he seems quite methodic. He comes across really well. He's bought in a couple of players that the guys bought from Elfsborg and Middle Park. Is it Nielsen? I think he really has shored them up in Middle Park, allows Shinnie to move on. Sockler, I know Ian says there he's not in the mould of Majowski, certainly not. However, I do think he can come in and get them goals. That one-on-one, he takes a clumsy touch, and it sort of runs away from him. Majowski, I thought, was off it in the first couple of minutes. Then he proved me wrong. Rattles the crossbar for about 35 yards. Reports this morning, Genoa and Southampton are circling to put a bid in for him. He will, like Matter.
Does that concern you for Aberdeen, though, in terms of, because if he goes, I mean, what a situation with Duke, Soccer would be the main man, although you would like to think they'll try and replace Majowski if they get good money for him. But is it a concern if he does go?
Without doubt, I think it's a concern for the league as well, because it's a massive bit of quality. If you're losing Matt O'Reilly and Bojan Majowski, they're two of the best players in the division. I know
Scott Wright, if he goes as well, it's all happening.
They've brought in Peter Ambrose, who I always saw sort of momentarily against Queen of the South, and he looked hungry and he had a bit of desire about him to try and get goals, but I think he's nowhere near the finished article. Listen, Bojan Majowski will not be an Aberdeen player at the end of this window. There's no doubt in my mind at all. Aberdeen will get good money for him. I think they'll probably get upwards of £6 million for him, and he'll be on his merry way. But he's certainly, you can just see he's levels above and what he does. Now, I actually think last night you saw some great link-up play between him and Soccer that maybe didn't see last season because they were going more one up top. So, no, really impressed with Aberdeen, and I do think Jimmy Tilleen will get a tune out of these guys this year.
He's so much more mobile, Majowski, than what Lawrence Shankland is. I'm not turning this into a Majowski Shankland for Rangers debate. I'm just talking about they're the two strikers in the league that are always compared because they're the two best strikers in the they're up there. Right?
Do you think Majowski goes under the radar because he's not Scottish? The whole thing about Shankland because he's Scottish.
Shankland scores more goals though. That's the problem. Shankland does score more goals, but Majowski's more of a complete forward than what Shankland is. If you actually, and I only watched the highlights, Robert, I know you watched a bit more of it. You actually watch Majowski play, he is such a good footballer.
Very good, 100%.
Is it a case, Martin? Is it snobbery on the part of both Rangers and Celtic that neither of them appear interested? Because I know the price tag's one thing, right? But to be perfectly honest with you, I think Aberdeen are well within their rights to have that price tag. He's still a young enough lad. He's a quality footballer all round and absolutely guarantees you goals. So is it just you can't sign a player like that for Aberdeen simply because he's there, even though he's more, in my opinion, more likely good enough for either side?
Just quickly on this, I think if you're Celtic, you've got Kyogo. I don't think you need Majowski. I think you need a different type of striker to what Majowski is, because Kyogo for me, when he's on form, is the most lethal striker in the league. However, if you're Rangers and you're looking at Majowski for what we have right now, 100% absolutely, he fits into your team. So to answer your question, I don't know if it is snobbery or it is the price tag or Rangers just don't want to pay Aberdeen a big sum of money. I don't.
Yeah, possibly. Okay. Iain, obviously, after another bit of tussling back and forth between both sides, Aberdeen eventually do get a second goal that they deserved at that point, to be fair, because they had some moments where, just a slight, maybe not necessarily poor decision making, but you had the one where they went forward almost 3-on-2 and the pass back just wasn't quite there. But eventually they go through again, and this is, again, the play for Aberdeen in the middle of the park all night was spectacular. Some of the link-ups were excellent, and for this goal in particular, obviously Jamie McGrath the beneficiary, but the link-up between Soccer and Nielsen and the build-up to this was excellent. Lovely one touch for them, and then Nielsen fires a perfectly weighted pass for Jamie McGrath, who, he's never ever. He's one of those players who doesn't miss in those situations very often.
Now, like I said, I only saw brief highlights of this game, but the one thing that did stand out was Nielsen. For me in this game is he just looked a cut above in the middle of the park compared to everybody else. And the ball through for McGrath, he'd have had to have done something similar to Vente to miss it, wouldn't he? It would have been harder to miss it than hard. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. I don't, but you probably do. And Jamie McGrath's a quality player. I still think he's probably got a level above Aberdeen as well with Jamie McGrath. Not that I'm trying to get to sell him as well, but I think he could potentially be onto bigger and better things, but who knows? He's not going to miss from there, particularly with the ball put through like that. Sokler, Nielsen, good movement, good touch, good play into McGrath, bang, goal, 2-0.
Yeah, absolutely. and Robert, St Johnstone, to their credit, they didn't just roll over and give in. They absolutely tried to make it an interesting finish, which they did. They get a bit of luck. Mackenzie Kirk fires one across the 6-yard box, ricochets in off Gavin Malloy, and we, at that point, what turned out to actually be 12 minutes left because there was 9 minutes added time on. It made it a little bit nervy. And you're on mute.
Done a Brian there. I was expecting so much more from Kim Pioka and Sidibe, I must admit. When I saw they'd gone 2 up top, a lot of pace and power in that front two, and I don't think they delivered on the night. St Johnstone will need to do a lot better if they're going to pick up the results and push on for last year. Nicky Clark comes on, and obviously he's going to be the backup man this year, but he seemed to offer a little bit more in the 5 minutes in terms of energy and buzz around the Aberdeen defenders than the other pair had for the previous 85. So nervy finish obviously for Aberdeen, but just listen, they'd be delighted to get the 3 points on the board. Can I just say a quick mention as well? I know we're short of time. Dimitar Mitov, how much of a difference between him and Kelarus. He brings a calming influence. He's encouraging his players when he's not getting the ball. He's giving them instruction. He's a great sign, absolutely perfect. So no, it's a good start for Aberdeen. They'll need to build on that. If Majowski does go, then that money will need to be put back into his squad. I'm sure Tillane will be telling the board just that.
I'll just quickly finish. I'll quickly finish on the match stats, and you can take whatever you want for this, right? Basically 50-50 in possession, which is, for a St Johnstone team, you're like that. Well, that's actually really good. 15 shots to 21 in favour of Aberdeen. However, only 2 on target for St Johnstone, 6 on target for Aberdeen. But here's the stat that really, I thought to myself, you wouldn't think this. Total touches in the opposition's box. St Johnstone had 27 to Aberdeen's 25. That's not something that you associate with a Craig Levein team.
Yeah, true. But then a lot of those will have came in that last, 5-10 minutes or so when they were pressing it. And to be fair, it shows the clinical nature of Aberdeen that, 25 touches, 2 goals, and they'll be happily up the road with 3 points. But we will park it there. 2 quick things to say to the viewers, just so you are aware. We were planning to do a bit of a new segment tonight, but we've kind of ran over time a bit, so we'll park it. But the next time we're on, we will bring that segment to you. It's going to be called The Eye Catcher, which is the thing that has caught our eye over the course of the weekend's football. It can be anything for the top flight. It can be any of the rest of the leagues. For example, mine's this week was going to be Iain Murray getting sacked. Whatever surprised you, and by all means in the comments below, let us know what has caught your eye over the weekend, because this show's about engagement. The other thing to say as well, due to availabilities and things like that, the SPFL show this season will be once a fortnight rather than every week. So the next time we are on will be live. I can tell you that. All going well. The plan is to be next on Sunday, the 18th of August. So a week on Sunday, we will be back to review all the action from that weekend. All that remains for me to do in the meantime is to thank Iain, Robert and Martin. Been a pleasure. And until the next time, take it easy.